G'day, this is Terry Roach from Capsifi with episode 3 in our Enterprise Operating Model series. Today's topic is the anatomy of experience, which will be an ontological exploration of how organizations deliver value to their various business stakeholders and how those stakeholders experience their interactions in a customer journey. In the previous episode, we discussed how the business operating model is comprised of a sequence of value streams, which act as scaffolds for organizational capabilities, which are the building blocks of the operating model and the anchor points for the people, process, information, and technology elements that make up organizational knowledge. All of that sits in the context of your business purpose, which is elaborated as a strategic plan, the goals and objectives, strategies and tactics and policies and controls. And downstream, you have your continuous delivery teams with your agile methodology running a continuous program of change. So how then does all of this fit within the context of interacting with your stakeholders and your customers? First of all, we begin with a catalog of the various stakeholders within an organization. Stakeholders could be anybody that the organization interacts with. Could be your shareholders, could be customers, could be internal employees, partners, even regulators, and potentially society at large. You can take those large stakeholder groups and segment them even further into more specific groups that you can make that could be defined by their demographics or any other categorization that you choose. Within the Capsifi platform, we allow you to create these customer segments, define the segment constraints, and then to actually create what we call personas, which are fictitious representations of one or other example of that particular segment. Having established your customer segments and stakeholders, next thing is to think about the value proposition that you as an organization intend to offer to each particular segment, because that might be quite different depending on who they are. The value proposition canvas by Osterwalder is a great mechanism for describing a value proposition. And we do that by defining the needs of that particular segment to come up with a stakeholder profile, and then align benefits that we intend to offer to address those needs. The value proposition canvas in this example for a group called the empty nesters in an insurance example would start on the left-hand side, developing the stakeholder profile of the empty nesters, examining all of the scenarios that would be important to them in the context of an insurance claim. For each of the individual scenarios, or important, as Osterwalder calls them, jobs to be done, we would describe needs, either pains or gains, that they experience and that we would like to try and address. And by working through this in a workshop, you define exactly the profile of this particular segment. The right-hand side of the canvas then is where we elaborate the offering that we'd like to develop to address the value proposition for that stakeholder group or segment. And here we define the benefits that we can identify as being things that will address those needs. For each of the benefits, we can then define the features of our offerings and elaborate specific features for specific benefits that address specific needs for a specific segment. Having done this, we'll clearly understand what it is that our particular customer segments need and how our products and services deliver those benefits. A further mechanism then for thinking about value to stakeholders is the concept of a value map. Value to each stakeholder group is going to be entirely different. What a shareholder imagines as value will be quite different to a customer perception of value. And so a value map breaks down those value into its component parts, decomposes it into a hierarchy. We call them value dials, a tree of ever fine and grained definitions of value. And then for each of the value dials when you get to the bottom of your tree, and you can define the tree down to 2 or 3 levels, probably enough. The bottom of those tree at the value dials, we describe what we call business drivers, things that we could do to move the needle on that value dial. So the value map then becomes this hierarchy, such as you see here. You can have, as you can see here, we have a variety of different value maps. There's a customer one, we have a shareholder one, and this one that we're actually exploring in this diagram is a societal one that we've actually leveraged a model from the UN for the global goals for sustainable development. This is a value map relating to the ESG, environment, social, and governance goals of society and how we plan to address those. So the UN ESG map here has underneath each of those environment, social, and governance value dials a further decomposition of a set of value goals relevant to society at large. What we've done in this particular case is heat map those, if you look on the right hand side of the legend, by their priority, whatever, an arbitrary score that we've chosen to prioritize these as they relate to our particular organization, perhaps. And then once this map is defined, we can then align it into any element within our operating model. In this particular case, we've taken an initiative and we've mapped the business outcomes of that initiative, the things that we're going to try and achieve with the initiative, into the corresponding value dial um, that we intend to deliver. And as you can imagine, the same value map could be used to align anything, your annual strategic plan, goals and objectives, even any ideas that you come up with for transformation or change could be mapped into the business drivers that align to the value dials and to the particular stakeholder group. And in this manner, you get a really clear identification for any of your initiatives of exactly what contribution that initiative is going to make towards your stakeholders and what value it's going to deliver. So with all that in place, you get a really good understanding of exactly how we intend to deliver value to our stakeholder segments. The next step then is to think about how we actually interact with those stakeholders. And the interactions are managed through and visualized through the concept of a journey. And a journey is a direct reflection of the value streams that we created earlier. So for every value stream, that you would have a corresponding customer journey. The value stream is often called the inside out view, and the journey is the outside in. Or another way of calling it is perhaps the backstage and the onstage perspective of how we actually run through each of these journeys. In the same way that value streams are made up of are scaffold for the capabilities, journeys are scaffolds for the interactions, the various channels through which we interact and the step-by-step interactions that we have, whether they be face-to-face, online, or through whichever channel it might be, as we go through interacting with our customers on a particular journey. And for each of these interactions, we can then measure all kinds of feedback that we're getting from customers as they go through these journeys. Their emotions, their moments of truth, the channels through which we talk to them or communicate with them. Perhaps things like pain points, if you're able to capture those or identify them, ideas for how to address those pain points, and many, many other, whatever other mechanisms that you can come up with to analyze the interactions on a journey and score them so that you can visualize exactly how those journeys are unfolding. In fact, this entire canvas then of customer journeys and value streams, we can pull these, align these together into an end-to-end service blueprint, is what we call it, which is an interactive canvas that shows you for any given stakeholder group, any given segment, the journey that you're going on with them through as you go through those interactions, the feedback of that particular segment, and then aligning the feedback that you're getting down through the value stream to the capabilities, to the operating model elements that allow you to move the needle on that journey feedback. Here's a great example of that for the persona of the segment of empty nesters in a journey, which is an insurance claim. Below the line, we have the value stream with the value stream stages, the business capabilities, and all kinds of alignment into the operating model elements down below, in this case, technology elements. And above the line, the journey stages mapped to the value stream stages and the various feedback that we've got for this particular segment, empty nesters, as they go through the interaction of an insurance claim. So that when we get a moment such as this, where there are a whole lot of indicators that this particular group may not be particularly happy at a particular moment in their journey, we can go down to the value stream to identify the inside out, the stage that we're in, and then move on down the blueprint into the capabilities and drill through to the people, process, information, and technology that might be at the cause of some of those satisfaction concerns. So all of that then brings us to the final element, which is the offering that we are planning to provide to these stakeholder groups. And over here is where we keep our catalogs of products and services, the way in which we package those up into our offerings, and in fact the specific features of each of those packages, which are the things that we would map to and align to these benefits for each of the value propositions. And then finally, the revenue and cost model, which collectively then gives us the overarching picture of our offerings, our customers, the experience that they go through as we deliver our offerings to the customers, making up the core components of the business model aligned to the operating model that we developed earlier. And all of that managed through the process of continuous change, the chapter we just did previously on transformation. Together, all of this creates what we call the Capsifi digital twin of an organization, and a comprehensive ontology of enterprise knowledge, bringing together all of the content that explains how your organization works, giving you access to each of these catalogs through this interactive canvas, and having the alignment and traceability to be able to see the dependencies and impacts of all of these concepts on one another. Thank you for your time. I hope that that's been informative, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with you.